Whoa. We are going to blow your mind, guys. This is going to be so much fun. Today, we have on the Leveling Up podcast, Kip and Lora Brown. It is so exciting. We're going to be talking about designing your language so that you can be more successful in life and business in all aspects. This is something that I'm really passionate about, and I know that Kip and Lora can deliver. They have so many great ideas. We're going to go through 3 different guidelines in this video and really help you dial in what is most important for you to design your language. Everything in your life, in your world, is created by the words that you speak into existence. You get to design how you speak and articulate what is surrounding you. The more clearly you do that, the easier it is for your audience, for all these other people that are around you, to be attracted to you. So I'm so excited to have them on today. They are some of my very best friends, amazing real estate investors, but today we're talking about language and how to develop it. Kip, Lora, how are you guys today?
We are doing wonderful and so excited to be on with you again and your listeners. It is something that we are very specific about in our own lives. And language plays such a huge part because it sets your foundation for how you think and what you're continually thinking about. It's the intentionality of all the things that you do, but the intentionality of the things that you say are so very important.
Yeah, I'm just thrilled to be here again. We love hanging out with you. I think this is one of the best podcasts that exists today. So thrilled and honored to be part of it. Language is, as Lora said, just an incredible part of who you are. It manifests, people say there's that manifest destiny. You create your own destiny with the language you use. And it starts with what you tell yourself. Like if you take nothing else from this podcast, hear this one. What you tell yourself is infinitely more important than what everybody around you says. You are your best salesman. You know all your tricks. You know everything there is to do about yourself. So what you're saying will come to be.
That's so really important. And we have some amazing guidelines for you guys. I want to make sure that we get all 3 of these out, and then we're going to really help you dial in some examples, share some stories. One of the things that Kip and Lora are excellent at is not just saying what is helpful, but something that is practical. That's what I love about them. Now, we're going to be diving into some guidelines. This very first guideline is exactly what Kip brought up. What you say to yourself is infinitely more important than what anyone else says to you. And we were actually kind of bantering. Who is it that we attribute this quote to? Who is it that said that? And we looked it up and we're like, oh, everybody said it. It's probably because it's important. It's really important. This is a principle, guys. It comes up all the time. So help us understand why this is so essential to design your success, design your vision, design all the different language around it so that you can get the results that you're looking for.
Well, truly, it's the foundation because, the concept of designing your life, designing your language, designing your goals, like all of those things is really about intentionality and that you can choose and you can set the parameters. Well, language is really the foundation of a lot of that because it doesn't matter. I mean, if people constantly tell you that you are doing great and that you're doing this, but in your own mind, you're like, I'm not worthy of doing this. Why would anybody want to speak to me? Why would anybody want to listen to? Who would want this? If you're constantly setting yourself up like that, it doesn't matter who tells you what is great and amazing and that the world needs it, you won't believe it. And if you don't believe it and you don't set that foundation for yourself, then it will not go anywhere.
And the other thing is your language is the foundation of what you're focusing on. And if you are focusing on negative language, you're worrying, you're wishing that to come true. Worrying is the highest form of consciousness. So if you're, I'm worrying about what's happening today. I'm worrying about my job. I'm worrying about raising the kids. I'm worrying about all these things. That language that you're using is going to.
It's at the top of your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
It's literally the thing that your mind then focuses on.
Yes.
And when you're focusing on that, your brain tries to not make you a liar. So it constantly is working to bring whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're focusing on to fruition. It doesn't matter how that works or if we completely can understand it. But that happens.
And another really important concept to understand within this is your brain doesn't know the difference between a positive or negative word. Like if you say, don't think of the color blue, you're immediately thinking of the color blue.
You're like, where is blue? There's a blue.
Is that the blue that it is? Is it a dark blue? Is it a light blue that I shouldn't be thinking
exactly.
of?
Your brain has to stop thinking about it. It has to consciously think about it, whatever it is, and then go, okay, now how do I stop thinking about it? And you can't. So whether you should always try to use language that's in a positive manner. That here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm getting, here's what I'm learning, here's what
what I'm grateful for. Here is what you know, I receive from things instead of get. You know, it's the little words, the ones that I absolutely love the most is instead of can I do this? Because that's a yes or no question. Either you can or you cannot. What could I do to do this? And all of a sudden your brain is like, I'm on creative mode. I get to come up with all the different options that might be available to accomplish this. And so for me, that has been probably one of the most intentional changes in my language. Also that you're grateful for things. You know, when you change the fact that I'm grateful for this happening to me, I'm grateful on many levels that my tumor happened. Because it opened up so many things that I wasn't considering. I wasn't thinking it. It put me in a space to realize so many things that really I wanted and needed, but I just wasn't in that headspace. I wasn't using language.
Hold on, you had to say headspace on that one. I feel like we need to help those that haven't met Lora yet understand. Give us the 30-second version of that whole experience with brain cancer.
You know, I was like anybody else. You know, I was a mom of 3 children. I was a wife. I did all the things that needed to happen. And, you know, life started getting hard. There was a lot of things that were challenges. I started to forget things. Memory had always been a key point. My body was in pain. I was stiff. A multitude of health issues continually arose. Nobody could tell anybody what was going on. I'd been to doctors. They all said, I can't figure anything out.
Stressed out mom.
I was just a stressed out mom that needed to be put on antidepressants. And I refused to do that. I'm like, I'm not depressed. I just not going to do that. Ultimately, eventually, got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease due to a variety of tremors that started evolving from one hand into all 4 limbs. That really was the intentionality that started into more depth of searching and trying to find answers. And ultimately, it came down to discovering that I had a brain tumor the size of a navel orange taken out of my right frontal lobe. It was an emergency setup.
See if we can see the scar line going right there.
So
all the way up and over and down.
You know, it was no small feat. It was an emergency. It was, 15 days from the day that they found it to the day they told me that I had to take it out. There was no second opinions. There was none of this. Like life had to go in this direction. And, that all happened. I always tell people, you can't dig around in your head with knives and not come out with some things that you have to deal with. And, but because of our intention, because of our community, because of the things that we were determined to do to make life better, it really put us on a path of being able to help a lot of other people get there.
And bringing language into this, it was incredibly important that we kept positive language. We used humor a lot to kind of get through this situation. We talked about our future and what we wanted to do. And we talked about solutions to problems, which actually kind of touching on the next principle that we'll get to here in a second, kind of segueing into that one. It's the being future oriented with things. It's about looking at ideas and concepts and that as a leader for that. We had to have that in this moment, or we would have gone down into ourselves. The outcome wouldn't have been as good. If we were focusing on all the negative, it would have just, the weight would have been too much to bear. So it was incredibly important that we had that positive language that we focused on in order to get through that particular time.
So Kip, Lora, this is what I'm hearing. Every single one of us, even if we don't go through brain cancer, will have times when really hard stuff happens.
For sure.
And the language we use around those experiences will determine our reality.
Yep.
Is that what
it will determine your success to recover out of it? Yeah. Ultimately, it really does. I truly attribute humor and the ability to see I wouldn't say the brighter side, because that's such cliche, right? Right. But the humorous side of the ridiculousness of the reality that we were in at that point in time, instead of the depths of despair and what could happen. Well, yes, there was a lot of things that could happen. We dealt with all of that, but it was more of the little things, of being able to see the hilarity of the ridiculousness and the craziness that was happening, instead of focusing on the bad things that could happen. Yeah. And again, that's the can and the could type of thing. Could gets a lot more creative, right? So this could happen, but we're going to, find the humor in that, which is the language that we use through that entire thing. Yeah. And people thought it was weird.
It's kind of weird that it was weird.
It was weird that it was weird, because we were like, why can you not find the humor? Why can you not laugh about, when we first honestly found out about the tumor, we were on the way to a big real estate convention, and you're going to be meeting hundreds of people. The whole goal is to build relationships and connect with people. You just got this news that in 15 days, things might not go so well, things like that. And so people wondered why we didn't tell them while we were there. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Walk up and say, hi, how are you? I'm Lora. I might be dead in 15 days, but it sure is good to meet you. Like, it's just weird to have to put that on somebody else at that moment in time, when we didn't even know enough about it.
We didn't even know to process it yet.
That is such a great way to speak about this. That reminds me, earlier this week, I read a book called 20,000 Days and Counting. There's one that my wife gave me a few years ago on our 6th wedding anniversary. She wrote me this beautiful note. And one of the things in this is it encourages you to really count the days in your life, because we don't know if we get tomorrow. We never do. This might be the very last podcast we ever get to do together. There could be a catastrophic accident. Something could happen. So today I'm 13,083 days old. Not years. That's very different.
You look great.
You are amazing. Yes. I definitely need to hear your secret.
So 13,083 days old. Every single one of us, we have that gift of today. Yeah. We don't get to relive tomorrow. We can in our mind, in our imagination, but the way that we create our language does create our lived experience. Our words literally create our worlds and the experience that we have. So going into this next section, this next guideline, you talked about the importance of leadership language. If we want to be successful, there's a specific type of language that we use. We choose to focus on ideas, not on people or events. Now, in your language, this is really important, because if we only focus on events or we only focus on people, it's very temporary and it's not as high vibration as thinking about ideas that are applicable at multiple times. So let's really unpack this next guideline to design your language. Go ahead.
Well, there's a lot of key points to this. I love the way this is summarized here. Leadership language is focused on ideas and not people or events. They're future minded. Mm-hmm. They're always looking to say, hey, what can we do? And if there's a negative in there, let's go to IT, because obviously that's kind of my
That's your
background,
thing, right?
delivering projects and all that kind of stuff.
It's like helping out making something crazy like one of these things, right?
Yeah,
An iPhone.
yeah, exactly. It's something along those lines, that fruit company in California. And so we would run into all kinds of issues with delivery. And we would have to come up and really talk through where can we go from here?
Mm-hmm.
And we would use language like, we're having some challenges. We haven't delivered this code yet.
That word is really
that yet is the most important word in that sentence. Yet, because now that's starting to say, hey, we can get this done. We have the confidence. And then instead of focusing on, oh, this developer messed this up or this tester did that, we didn't focus on an individual person. We didn't focus on the fact that we were going to miss the deliverable, the event. What we focused on was the solution on what we could do. Here's how we could modify the code to get what we called the minimal viable product out there. We focused on that and then conceptually designed the next release and moved forward with the plan for that, and understood how the business could be benefited from the release that we were getting out the door. So you're always focusing on that idea, the concept, the future that's happening. You haven't got there yet. So you're designing the language, and you have to really inspire your team. Leaders inspire people. They help them understand how they fit into the greater scheme of things. They give them the sense of empowerment such that they have ownership into the task. They get them to not focus on the problem, but to focus on those forward solutions that are there.
And
so good.
There's always the family barbecue or the picnics that you've gone to,
Right.
things like that, where there's the people in those events, it's, at those places that you would like to avoid, because every time you get stuck in a conversation, all they can do is tell you about all the great things or all the bad things that somebody in their life has been doing
to them.
And you're like, like this is, or you really are attracted to the people that are sitting there talking about things that you're like glued to your seat going, I want to talk to you more because you have some great ideas. The things that you talk about are this, and you can see that in your day-to-day life of the people that talk about these things, and you are more attracted and want to go to be part of those conversations versus the conversations that are focused on gossip.
Ideas are exciting. Ideas are fun. So if you want to have more people in your life, start talking about ideas, talk about the future, talk about what's possible. Humans are one of the, we're an amazing species when you get down to us, and our ability to think through a concept and then be able to make a plan of action to go accomplish that is completely and holistically unique. We're the only species that can do it, which is fascinating to me. That's a gift. That's an absolute gift, which is why real leaders focus on that.
One of the things that just popped into mind, I'm reading a book right now. It's called Speak Like a Pro by Dan Clark. I'm going to have him on the podcast pretty soon.
Nice.
He's a world-class speaker. One of the things that he talks about is a lot of, I want to call it low-level coaches. They say, well, just create a vision board, get pictures of what you want, and that's it.
Yep.
But if you really want to create a vision, you have to create language that has you plugged into it.
That's right.
You want to figure out, when I wake up at 5 o'clock and I go to the gym, what type of energy am I going to bring with me? I'm going to do my very best that day. Whether I have 40% in the tank or I have 100% in the tank, I'm going to do my 40% if it's 40%, and that's my final percent. When you show up and you say, can I do one more rep? That's different than, I will do my best to do one more rep. Just that little language shift will start to create a different reality for you.
Yep.
Or what could I do to go the final percent today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's does that mean that's 5 more reps? Does that mean doing a whole nother set of exercises in another muscle group because that was not something that you focused on before, but you could do that today? It's those types of things that will help you. What could I do to bring value to other people. You know, those kinds of concepts, if we focus more on working in those types of languages with ourselves, there's so much more that we would ultimately be able to bring to the world, and the world would benefit from it.
That's beautiful. I don't know why this is the story that popped into my head, but just prepare yourself. This was fun. A few years ago, I was working as a farmhand, believe it or not. These hands were once helping with cows all the time. You guys have been there. You've literally been to my farm.
And I appreciate that so very much.
While I was there, we were in this little corral. Mom had just had her baby. Pretty much one of the most gross things you can do, but also really beautiful. And she had a lot of manure on her backside. Okay. Not a little bit, like caked. And when you're around cows, sometimes they just make sudden movements for no reason. She was nursing her baby. And I think I didn't pay attention close enough because she backed up suddenly and I was pinned against the fence and she hit me on the arm with her butt. And I had manure, flakes of hay, all the stuff from the top half of me. And I was trying not to gag and throw up. I wasn't hurt, but I definitely could have been hurt really easily. The farmer that I was with, Wayne, he turns to me. He's like, "Whoa, what happened?" I turn to him and I say, I was rear-ended.
There's a language pattern. I love it.
It's a language pattern. This is so important, guys. We're talking about ideas here. We're having fun. Sometimes you have to play light at those experiences. Otherwise, you're going to cry. That was one of those that, like, I definitely wanted to just go home right then because of the stickiness of the situation. But it was a fun experience. Now, we're going to go on to the next guideline here. This next guideline is all about patterns and how we recognize, replicate, and iterate. Talk to us about pattern recognition, why this is so essential in designing your language.
Right. Well, everybody wants to, they say language that they use. I want the shortcut. I want the silver bullet. I want the secret to whatever it is you're doing. Just show me the way and I'll do it. Now, there really aren't shortcuts in life. Those do not exist. However, there are ways to accelerate your learning curve, and that's by recognizing patterns. Find out what successful people are doing, and then copy that, mimic it, do what they do. Stop trying to invent the wheel. The problem people have is they'll learn a concept, they'll recognize a pattern that somebody is doing, whether it's in finance, whether it's in investing, whether it's in speaking, like marriage,
whether it's a script that's being used for something, and then they want to make it their own, and change it just a little bit so that it sounds like them.
So they get out of order. You have it in perfect order. You have to recognize what the pattern is first. Then you have to iterate on that replicate it until it works. And then you can iterate it. Most people skip the whole, I'm going to practice. I'm going to become the expert in this area. That's what replication is. You are becoming the expert, capable of doing the things. You have to be the person, which is the recognition. You have to do the stuff, which is replication. And then you can become, which is, I can then iterate it.
That's beautiful. Let me say this in another way. I think this is so important. If we're talking specifically to communicators, language learners, people that want to design their language, if you are learning a new word, because I come from a language background, you have to first recognize the word before you try and repeat it. If you don't recognize the word, if you didn't hear it well, then you will not be able to replicate the word effectively.
Correct.
And if you try and use it in all these different contexts, you will be confusing and confused. This is very simple if you take it down to that base one word example. You can do the same thing in patterns in business, patterns as a speaker. You say, wow, he's a great storyteller. Oh my gosh, I want to be like that guy. Well, listen to his speech, identify what are the things that he did. You recognize the patterns, and then you say, well, he gave us 3 points. I can take that's a pattern. Perfect. He clarified at the beginning what it was he was going to say. He had a great hook. And then at the end, he tied it all up in a nice bow. All right, if I want to have a similar speech and story based on the way he did it, I now can replicate that pattern, and you replicate it multiple times. And then you can say, well, is there another way to do this and still be effective? You have to have replicated it multiple times to be able to iterate your own version and still be effective. Because sometimes iterations do not go well, and that's okay.
No, they don't.
No.
A lot of times
I wonder.
Well,
I wonder, Kip, were there any times where you iterated something, or you made a choice and you're like, wow, that was dumb. I don't know why we thought we should fix that because we broke it. Tell me a little bit about it.
Many, lots would be the short answer. It's interesting. I'm going to keep it slightly generic just to protect the people involved.
You're good.
In there. But I was an IT consultant, so I came in and evaluated companies to figure out what software challenges they had and what software solutions we could go forward with. So kind of going all the way back to that first one we did, we had to come in there and think about ideas and concepts in there. Mm-hmm. So we would come in and I would hear this almost every single time. In fact, I can't remember a time, including the little fruit company in California. Yeah. So
that fruit company be? I don't know.
Everybody said, and I quote, "Oh, but you don't know our problem. We are different. We are unique. We have this problem going on." And not one time, literally not one time, did they have a different pattern than every other company. It's always the same pattern, which comes down to communication and language. You've got one group of people with an idea. You've got one group of people that are delivering what it is that they need to deliver. And then you have a group of people that sit in the middle that try to tell the other two what's going on. And the communication or the language that they're using breaks down every time. And it's because people with the concept and idea don't appreciate the technical challenges, and the technical people delivering don't appreciate the spirit or essence or what the general concept is. And that language that they're using back and forth, people have their own definition of words. And so we'd had several times where really what I had to do was go, oh, this is what this person meant. Oh, this is what they meant. This is what can be done. This is what, and so I spent most of my time translating back and forth between that.
This is such an important thing with communication and language learning. Anything that you do has the potential to be misunderstood. Anything you say, even if you're like, I was so clear, this is the dictionary definition of what this means. How did you misunderstand it? Sometimes because the connotation differs by culture. It differs by your associations. You can say one thing and they take it in a completely different way. How many times have you guys gone and texted somebody, thought you were being really clear? You're saying, hey, you look pretty today. And they're like, you look pretty today? Was I not pretty yesterday? What is going on here? And there is frustration that happens. There's so much communicated through our body. And even in the words that we have to understand what is their definition, what are their values, what is the framework that they're working from. Because if their frame of reference is different than yours, even if you're using the same words, a rear end in a car accident is different than getting rear-ended by a cow.
Yeah.
All right.
Another great example of that is, you come up and you tell your wife, you're awesome. And she'll say, no, you are awesome. You're with apostrophe. And it makes you happy. It makes your day great, right? And she's just correcting your grammar.
That's so good. No, you are awesome. That's so good. Thank you so much. That's what she's doing all the time. I finally understand. One of the things you brought up earlier that I feel like is absolutely essential for this conversation is designing your language with intentionality. To wrap up this whole conversation, I really want to make sure that we get this. When you design your language with intention, you don't just describe your life, you design it. Talk to us about why intentionality in your language helps you design it rather than just saying what comes to heart.
It really comes to the point of, if you're constantly just, as you said, describing the things that you're doing, you're just the third party storyteller of your own life, right? But when you intentionally design your language, all of a sudden you're in the story. You are now the narrator, but not just the narrator, you're the author of it. And it is those types of distinctions that we forget about. We're not thinking about those when we do things without thought. A lot of times we just describe events, we describe people, we describe everything in our lives, and it sets us away from it.
Yeah.
We're not affected by that because we were just describing what was happening, what was going on, instead of embodying it and being part of it, being there. It's storytelling. As you talk about and do and make such an impact with people, it's about being there. It's about sharing a moment that touched you, that connected with you. You're in the middle of it. That's the intentionality of your language, different than just telling somebody about something.
And you get to choose. Another really amazing thing about being a human is you can choose the language that you're using. The language that you pick will affect your mood. It'll affect your physiology. It'll affect everything about how your day goes. So if you're choosing to use words that represent love, kindness, happiness, joyful, future-oriented, those kinds of things, you will feel better. If you're choosing language that is derogatory, demeaning, hurtful, even just self-deprecating, if you're using those kinds of langues, then your day is going to be worse.
We talk about it all the time about energy, right? I specifically like to help design your environments and the spaces around you to help supercharge or for you to sustain energy or instead of draining it. Well, your language is the same way. It can either boost you
or drain you.
Give you supercharges, give you the energy that you need to be able to accomplish what you want to do, or it will drain you and leave you as a pile of dust in your own life type of scenario. And so it's this concept of designing your life with intentionality. It's designing the spaces around you with intention so that you can have, you need all the help that you can get. All of us do. Like there's nobody out there that just miraculously accomplishes everything without some intentionality around making sure that their environment supports them, making sure that their language supports them, making sure that their physical bodies and their health and wellness support them in those endeavors. So much of that. And that's what we've always loved about the Final Percent and being part of that whole ecosystem is because they bring intentionality into all the different areas. They vertically integrated instead of trying to linearly set things up for you to do one thing and then another thing. And no, you're doing it all in line. It trickles down, it feeds up, it does all of those different things. And it's that intentionality in all those areas. And language is absolutely the key part of all of that.
This is something that I was telling my daughter yesterday, because yesterday was her first day of school, really excited. I said, honey, everything that you do in school is language learning. You are learning what is the way that they're communicating. You can take from context. And as you understand the words they are using and you get clarity on the meaning of those words, you can understand. But if there are certain things you don't understand, you need to ask questions and say, hey, I didn't quite grasp what you meant there. Or I hear you, but I'm not totally following. This is something that I had on my board yesterday, and I felt like I needed to bring it up. This is by Confucius. He says, "To be wronged is nothing unless you continue to remember it."
I love it.
That's
fantastic. I
fantastic.
love it. Confucius always has something.
Confucius. Whether he actually said it or not doesn't matter, because it was so good.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Every single one of us get to choose what things we care to remember and how we talk about those experiences.
Yeah.
When I talk about storytelling, you get to choose how you frame your story. I could have been really sad in the way that I talked about that story, getting rear-ended, or I could tell it humorously. Yeah. Just like the way that you talked about your experience having a brain tumor. Absolutely traumatic, but we actually laughed. We had some great experience with it because of how you chose your language. When we're intentional with our language, everything in our storytelling, in our communication can be elevated. But just having a great story does not mean that you're going to deliver it well. That's the value of a great coach. That's a value of practicing it and then making sure that, just like we talked about with pattern recognition, you say, well, what does a successful storyteller do? They recognize the patterns. They replicate those things. They dial it in because it's perfect practice that prevents those present problems.
Yeah. It's about being aware. It's about having the awareness of the language, the environment, everything that's going on around you, to recognize the patterns, to be able to do all of the things that you need, focusing on language that's positive, focusing on future oriented, focusing on solving problems with ideas.
And that's the power of mentorship, right? That's the power of coaches, that they can bring that in, because it's sometimes easier for other people to see the patterns that you're doing or saying, or those types of things that you are so subconsciously unaware of, because maybe you've done it so much and you're not seeing it, or maybe you're not seeing something in a different light. And as a coach and as a mentor, having the ability to give that third party perspective brings awareness. And it's that concept of awareness that then gives you the chance to intentionally affect it, because you can't intentionally affect something that you're not aware of yet.
Oh, I have a great story for that one if we got a little extra time. So we'll go back to that food company for a second. So I'll be a little more specific in there. That one. And so I was talking to these guys and going through the original launch. So I designed the activation sequence for them, to how you start that device up and get it connected to a cell phone carrier. It was the first time it had ever been done in the history of the world, which was really kind of fascinating. So I found myself down in Cupertino, California, nice sunny warm day. It was great down there. And early in the morning, I go in there and I'm excited, but I'm a little nervous too, because this is that fruit company in California. So it was a big deal going on, and very hush hush, very secret. So nobody knew about this except there was about 100 people in the world that knew of this project at total at this point. So I go to sit down and I'm in this big conference room table, and there's probably 50 people hanging out around here, and they're all of the iTunes developers and testers and some of the senior leadership people that you will definitely know the names of that are rather famous on the news today running that company. And they're all sitting around there, and I've been chosen to present the design, and I've got this great Visio, which if people who run with Apple will understand how stupid I am right now, Visio presentation on how all the systems are going to connect together. So I sit down and I'm right in the middle around this big table, and I go and I look and I go to unzip my laptop like this to plug it into their screen to put, and I just happen to kind of do one of, and I see there's a silver laptop, a silver one, a white, silver, white, silver, and I'm looking at my black one. Zip back up. I'm just going to get up and whiteboard this thing today. I had an IBM ThinkPad laptop in the middle of Apple's headquarters. So recognition of a pattern here. This one is not like the other. And so I run back to the hotel after I whiteboarded the whole presentation because I said, hey, I'll get you guys copies of this tomorrow, but I would just love to talk through concepts with you. So I drew it all out, ran back to the hotel, called up my CEO and said, Steve, because funny, my CEO was called Steve too at the time. I'm like, I will not go back there tomorrow to finish this with a black laptop. I don't care how you do it. I need a silver one delivered to my door as fast as you possibly can here in the hotel. I will stay up all night long. I'll convert everything over to this thing called Keynotes. I think that's what Apple uses. I'll figure it all out. Just get me the laptop now. And so they delivered at 4 a.m. a laptop. I redid all of the presentations, all of the diagrams on Keynotes, and OmniGraffle, which was the equivalent there for doing the diagrams. And so I got it all done and presented on a silver laptop the next day.
That's so amazing. Pattern recognition at its best. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Can I just let you guys know how appreciative I am of having you on, not just once or twice, but like multiple times. You always bring such energy, great stories, very memorable moments. I feel blessed to be able to experience these with you. I know all of you guys that are listening to this, your repeat viewers, you will be able to experience Kip and Lora in person at the Seattle Totality. Will you give us a 1-minute overview of what is it that is the reason why they need to be there?
Man, you have to experience it to really understand. Language isn't sophisticated enough to really describe the feeling of this, but it's, as Lora said, it's vertically integrating your professional, your personal, your professional, your vitality, your community, and how they all play together. That getting around people that will uplift you, that will support you, cheer when you win, and help you grow where you need to. We're not here to say, oh, you must grow here. No, this is about you. It's your focus that you get to say, hey, here's where I need help. We have two hands for a reason. We have one hand that says, here's where I can help. I've got this skill set. We've got another one that says, here's where I need help. This is an event where you can put both hands up all the time and really get the help that you need.
Woo-hoo! I love it. You're setting the woo free. Both hands up. I love it.
Design, right? You're really going to be able to see and design, like this concept of designing. It's going to be talking about designing language. It's going to be talking about designing around you. You're really going to be able to get the framework so that you can become aware and understand how you can do that, and then be connected to an ecosystem that is going to help you figure out where you can fit in, if that is what works for you, and how you can then take the intentional steps of accomplishing and going forward the way that you want to. So it all starts at this kind of event. It really, if you haven't been able to figure out how to start, this is absolutely the best place to come and get that launch button, if you will, to launch yourself into whether or not you ultimately should, I hate that word, but could. Here we go. We're going to use that word.
Use better language. Yes,
that's right. What you couldn't do, right, to really launch yourself into your own success. So come and be part of this experience and really truly embody your own success in all of this.
And let me tell you, last year at this event, that was the first time you guys put this specific event on. Now we've done a totality on multiple cities all across the nation, all the way to Detroit, even to LA, both sides of the country. The biggest thing that you'll experience here is community. Community supercharges everything that we do. You can understand the concepts. You can have the ideas. You can even utilize the language, but without the language being spoken around you, it's like learning a dead language.
Yes.
Think about this. You can really master Latin, but sorry, nobody else is speaking that. It's great philosophical stuff. It'll help you understand other languages. But if you want to really understand the language of success, you want to be around other people that are speaking the language of success. They are living, breathing proof that the patterns that they're sharing work. So thanks, Kip and Lora. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you can always grow by yourself. Like there's nobody that's out there that can stop you from growing except for yourself. You can always grow by yourself, but you absolutely will grow faster with more depth when you can grow with people that ultimately are growing with you.
Yeah, there's a real energy exchange that happens when you get around people. Energy is not, you can't create it, you can't destroy it. Some people say you can convert it to matter or back and forth, but the reality is there is energy out there. We exchange it amongst everybody that you meet. Your environment has it. Lora talks about this all the time with her design stuff in the way you feel. But let me put it very clearly. Instantly, within seconds, whether you like somebody or not. You meet them. It's instant. You haven't really heard them speak. You don't really know anything about their background. Maybe you saw a social media post or something with it, but instantly whether or not you will get along with somebody. Now, things can change over time to affect that, but it right away. That is the energy exchange. So what's so important about community and having everybody vibrating on that same frequency. When you get into a community, this is why it supercharges the other three. It's that energy that you get from the community that lifts you up, that gets you open to the concepts and ideas, starts changing the language that you're using and that story that you're telling yourself in your head. It supercharges everything, as you said.
That is beautiful. My father, he is in Hawaii right now, which is kind of exciting. And he sent me a picture yesterday of a banyan tree. And when I was in Hawaii, I remember learning banyan trees are communal. They're not just individuals. They literally grow up and then together, and their root systems connect and they become one organism. One of the things about community is it's very similar to a banyan tree. You may have started out a little sapling all growing by yourself, but as you interconnect with other people, that becomes a system that you can plug into, and your life force starts to impact other people's life force.
Yes.
Your vitality is in exchange with everyone else's, and you can notice, how am I plugging into other people and how are other people plugging into me? And those interconnectedness, is that a word? All of the interconnectedness there, it allows you to grow more strong than you could on your own. So there's a great little analogy. I'll leave you with this quote before I let go. This is by L.M. Montgomery. Since we were talking about how words create worlds, this one stuck out to me. "Dear old world," she murmured, "you are very lovely. I'm glad to be alive in you."
That's so good. Yeah. Wake up every morning being glad that you're alive in this world. I love that quote, actually. That's fantastic.
Well, thanks so much, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Continue to live that language of success and design your life, because you only get one of them.
Yeah.
God bless, guys.
Yeah, it was absolute pleasure. Love it. Oh, well, one last
go ahead.
thought.
One last thought.
Check in the comments down below. If you want to understand and come to this event, check it out. It's going to be in August towards the end, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. The link will be in the comments down here. You have to experience it.
You're worth it. You're worth the opportunity to explore what you're possible and what you're capable of.
Brigham, we just love you, man. You're the best. I really, really like your podcast.
I appreciate you so much.
And if you're not leveling up, you're not.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? If you're not leveling up, you're not. So good. Thank you so much. Peace out, guys. God bless.